Packers and the Lions in the early game of the day. Green Bay wins 31-24. And I made notes. I made notes so there would be some basic structure to my tendency to just ramble. And the first thing I wrote is big onions. Because Matt LaFleur out big onioned Dan Campbell. The Packers went for it 3 times on 4th down, scored 2 touchdowns going for it on 4th down. And one was 4th and 3 from the 22. That was the first touchdown that the Packers scored on the day when they were leading 3-0 in the second quarter. And Matt LaFleur explained after the game that that was the difference. But this is the key because, oh, by the way, and I'll talk about Dan Campbell in a minute and the fact that the Lions were 0 for 2 on 4th down. I can't stress this enough. And I remember when the NFL moved the extra point from the 2 to the 15 to encourage teams to maybe go for 2 more frequently. That was part of it. That was part of it. The one-pointer was too easy. It was too automatic. It was too perfunctory. Let's move it back and let's see what happens. Well, you know, what's happened is teams just still go out and they kick what's essentially from the 15 at 18, 33-yard field goal, right? But when they first started, we saw the Steelers under Mike Tomlin going for 2 a lot, to the point where it became predictable that they were going to go for 2. When it comes to going for 2, when it comes to going for it on 4th down, I say, screw the analytics. I say screw the analytics generally. I say you want to create a sense within a given game and a given season of unpredictability. You don't want the opposing defense to have a pretty good idea of what you're doing. You don't want them to know when they're defending 3rd down, they're also going to be defending 4th down because you approach it differently. If you're defending the sticks on 3rd down versus, hey, they're going to try to gain 4 or 5 yards here to make the 4th down play easier. LaFleur said it himself. He was able to tell Jordan Love on 3rd down, we got 2 plays. He already made the decision. And that's the first thing now that we see. Immediately after the 3rd down play, and it's good that the directors out there who are picking the shots, the first thing we see, coach headset, and he's looking at, when you see this, when that's the first thing you see after the 3rd down play, they're going for it. They're going for it. And we're seeing that more and more often. But this can't become the Packers' thing now. They were able to surprise the Lions with it yesterday because it wasn't their thing. They need to be unpredictable. That's the key. It worked yesterday because it was unpredictable. With the Lions and Campbell, you know, as I tweeted yesterday, there's a line between aggressive and asinine. And Campbell has been living on one side of that line lately. You can't just be, we're the team that always goes for it on 4th down, because everybody understands that. They prepare for it. They expect it. No, you want to be unpredictable. That's the challenge now for Dan Campbell and the Lions. Reset. Go back and start not going for it on 4th down. Create some doubt. It's going to take a while, though. Once you get that, they're the team that always goes for it on 4th down, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to take more than the rest of the season. But we saw it yesterday when the score was, and I want to make sure I have this right. The score was 31-21, right? Where is it? Here we go. 4th and 3 from the Green Bay 21. Down 10. And they dialed up a short pass that Jamison Williams dropped. Now, the analytics crowd will say the same thing they said when the Lions went for it in the NFC Championship, up 14 in the 3rd quarter, when the field goal, and it would have been between 45 and 50, but they would have been back up 17 with a quarter and a half to play. Nope. Go for it. Josh Reynolds dropped it. So the argument was, well, that was the right call because if he hadn't dropped it, it would work, but he dropped it. You've got to factor in the possibility that the execution of the play is going to have some sort of a flaw. and that it's either going to be a bad pass, a batted ball, or the guy drops it. There's always a chance the guy's going to drop the pass. And Williams dropped the pass. That doesn't justify the decision. It indicts it. It's one of the risks you take. Hey, might have missed the field goal, right? And we don't have the luxury of an alternate universe where we know whether or not the field goal would have been good, but pretty good chance the field goal of 38 yards would have been good. 39 would have been the 21. So don't get caught up in, well, hey, Williams dropped it, or, hey, it was the right call. Williams dropped it. No, it's the wrong call because he dropped it. It's the wrong call because it's not unpredictable, because it's what they always do. Why in the hell don't you take the points there and make it a one-score game? Make it a one-score game. That was the criticism from the NFC Championship. Make it a three-score game. It's a two-score game. Make it a three-score game. Don't think about it in terms of points. Think about it in terms of scores. When you get into the second half, you forget about the actual points and think in terms of scores. We're up 2 scores. We could go up 3 scores. We continue this drive and score the touchdown. We're going to go up 3 scores. We kick the field goal on 4th down. We're going up 3 scores. We're down 2 scores. We score a touchdown on this drive. We're down 1 score. We kick the field goal. We're down 1 score. It seems so simple. And is the explanation as basic as the closer you are to the heart of the action, the harder it is to think clearly? I don't know. I'll never know that. All I know is some of this stuff seems pretty damn clear. Some of this stuff seems pretty damn obvious. And Dan Campbell has slipped into this habit/reputation of go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. We are seeing now, this is the first real test case of the analytics age of a team that is go for it, go for it, go for it. What were they, 0-5 against the Eagles? Going for it? 0-2 yesterday against the Packers. The predictable team was 0-2. The unpredictable team was 3 for 3. Something to keep in mind as we see this after 3rd down. We know it. Watch for that. They're going for it. All right. Boy, you really want to be unpredictable. Hey, you really want to be unpredictable? After the 3rd down play, act like you're don't do this. People are going to think you're not going for it, and then go for it. All right. I want to address a couple of things as it relates to the controversies that emerged from the game. There was a pool report yesterday, a 2-part pool report. One was with the NFL's head of instant replay, Mark Butterworth, and the other part of it were questions posed to the referee for the game, Ron Torbert. I'm going to focus on the Torbert part first. That was the timeout that they decided happened right before a false start on one of the 4th down plays. First half, I think the score was 10-7 at the time, Green Bay. The clock was ticking down towards 0. The right guard moved. False start, 5 yards back. Probably going to kick a field goal, make the score 13-7. Still a 1-score game. The officiating crew determined that Matt LaFleur had called a timeout. Now, the visual evidence seemed to suggest that he wasn't making the universal timeout signal until after the right guard, had moved. The explanation was he did it verbally. And these pool reports at times, they're so useless. They're just restating what we already knew. They're never going to say, hey, we got that wrong. Oh, yeah, that play? Oh, you're asking about that? Man, I wish you weren't asking about that play. Can you ask about a different play? Because we really got that one wrong. And Torbert said, the officiating crew decided that the timeout was called before the false start. Well, thank you. Yes, we knew that. We would like something a little more instructive. Like, what are the mechanics there? How did he hear it? It looked like, and he was asked the question, Torbert was, it looked like that LaFleur was covering his mouth when he was supposedly screaming timeout at a time when the Lions fans at Ford Field would have been on the loud side. How'd you hear him say timeout? And this goes back to, let's take a step back. We should require this. This is indisputable. Not saying timeout, this. They have this for a reason. You make the T. Until you make the T, it's not a timeout. Oh, we heard him whisper it. We saw his lips moving. No, this. That's a timeout. Everybody knows that's a timeout. So it's something that Lions fans should appropriately be miffed about, because it would have been 13-7, not 17-7. And if everything else played out for the rest of the half, the Lions would have been leading 14-13, and it's a completely different dynamic coming out of the locker rooms for the second half. The other aspect of the pool report, damn, I'm going a long time here. All right, we're kicking into overdrive. The other aspect of the pool report was the Dontavian Wicks touchdown, the first touchdown of the game. I wrote about this at PFT, and I'll defer to the Post, but for those of you who prefer to not read, it was a ruling on the field of a touchdown. And it looked at first like a touchdown, but then you look at the replay, okay, the ball arrives as the right foot is down. Then the right foot comes up. And the safety for the Lions is coming across Dontavian Wicks, and there's kind of contact. It's kind of a graze. And you see the ball go from in both hands to it moves, and it shifts, and he resecures it. But by the time he does that, he only gets 1 foot down. And we saw that play week 7, Thursday night, Steelers at the Bengals. It was just this weird kind of, wait, they overturned the ruling of a Jamar Chase catch on the sideline. It was late in the first half, automatic review, came back from commercial. Oh, they've overturned that catch because you know what he did? You know what he did? You know what he did at the sideline after 2 feet were down? The ball moved in his hands. And the other part, now, obviously, before I explain the pool report, the ruling on the field was upheld. It was upheld. And there was an interesting conversation between Dean Blandino and Tom Brady. What about the movement of the ball? What about the movement of the ball? The ball moved. The ball moved. Wicks had it in both hands when 1 foot was down. That foot comes up, and the ball starts moving around, and then it gets resecured, and he doesn't get 2 feet down before he's out of bounds. The ruling was upheld. Mark Butterworth did the pool report, and the first response was the predictable, what we all saw. That's always going to be, pro tip for anyone who is the pool reporter. The first answer is always going to be an explanation of the ruling they made. They're just going to say what they did. Yeah, he had both feet down in control of the ball, so we determined it was a touchdown. Thank you. And the follow-up from Colton Pouncey was a good one. Was there a discussion about the bobble? And Butterworth said no, because these receivers are so good, they can do all this shifting around and it's still okay. Like, what the hell? That's not in the rule book. I checked. There's nothing in the rule book about if the receivers are really good, then it may look like they lost control, but these receivers are so good, they still had control. What is that? I'm a big proponent of the rule book as written being applied as written. There's nothing in the rule book that says, hey, man, these receivers are pretty good, There's no note. Receivers today are really good. Err on the side of concluding that they maintain control of the ball because they're really good. Like, what the hell is that? Here's all they needed to say. And I'm not quibbling with this at the end of the day, because I think this play fell into the bucket of whatever the ruling on the field, there isn't sufficient evidence, clear and obvious, to overturn it. If they had ruled no touchdown, it's not clear and obvious it was. They ruled touchdown, it's not clear and obvious it wasn't. I'm fine with that. But when it's time to do the pool report, that's what you need to say. That's the thing that is so easy to lose sight of. And sometimes I wonder, does the NFL want to get away from the clear and obvious standard? Do they want to admit that clear and obvious mistakes are being made? Do they want to re-officiate the play? I feel like they want to now, with replay, re-officiate the play from scratch. In an effort to get it right, they seem to be shifting away from the clear and obvious standard. And that was an example of, because that's the explanation. Hey, pool reporter, you want to know what happened? The standard's clear and obvious. And it wasn't clear and obvious that it wasn't a catch. It wasn't clear and obvious that he lost control. And if the ruling on the field had been no touchdown, it wouldn't have been clear and obvious that it was. All right. So the Lions now are, to use the technical term, screwed. at 7-5. They've got the Cowboys. They're at the Rams. They've got the Steelers coming to town. They're at the Dolphins, and then they're at the Bears to end the season. Their margin for error is shrinking. They're currently on the outside looking in. They're in third place in the division. They got a problem. A year after going 15-2, being the number 1 seed, and looking pretty damn good out of the gates, other than the week 1 loss to the Packers, but they looked like they were still the Lions. And I had someone explain to me, a big Ben Johnson, former head coach in the NFL, a big Ben Johnson proponent. You wait and see what happens without Ben Johnson. You watch. You wait and see. And hey, I mean, Dan Campbell is the play caller. They've lost 2 out of 3. And they should have lost the Giants game. They should be, 1-3. And they beat the Commanders the day we didn't realize, well, we should have, because he had the glasses on and he's doing this the whole time. But the first game where he took over the play calling without anyone knowing, they won that one. But they're 1-2 since then, and they should be 0-3 since then. The Dan Campbell taking over the play, it's not, I'm sorry, Dan Campbell's a great head coach. Dan Campbell's a play caller. It ain't working. It ain't working. It's not working for the Lions this year. They got to dig deep, and they can recite all the cliches they want. They may not make it. The Packers are going to have a little bit of a challenge, but you know what? They may be in first place by the time the Black Friday game between the Bears and Eagles ends. Because the good news for the Packers, the Bears are about to get a dose of reality here. I mean, you look at the 8 of 9 games they've won, not exactly murderer's row. You look at what's coming up for the Bears. God, I can't read my handwriting. At the Eagles, at the Packers, the Browns, the Packers, at the 49ers, and the Lions. Good luck with that, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and company. The Packers have the Bears at the Broncos, at the Bears, the Ravens, and at the Vikings. Not exactly easy for them, but if the Eagles beat the Bears today, and look, this is a great game today. If the Bears win, we got to think differently about them as NFC North eventual champions. If they lose, Packers may end up winning the division, and the Bears may slip into that, okay, between the Bears, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, and the 49ers, one of them isn't making it. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.